In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace your inner tie rod on your Kia Soul. It's located behind your front wheels. I'm going to use a 21mm socket, take off the front wheel. I'm going to start by taking out our cotter pin, or our castle nut. Sometimes you get lucky with a pick to get these out. If not, you just zip it off the nut. All right, you're going to use a 17mm and take off your castle nut. All right, you're going to want to mark your tie rod for alignment purposes to make sure that when you put the new one on, it matches up. All right, you're going to use a 24mm wrench on the nut and a 22mm wrench on the square part. Break that free. The jam nut. All right, after you get your castle nut off, you're going to want to give that a few whacks to see if it comes out. All right, so as you're unscrewing this, you're going to count how many turns, full turns, you do, so that when you put your new one on, you're counting the same amount back. Another way to do it is you can count your threads, whatever's easier for you. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. All right, so we're gonna take our clamp off. All right, so you're gonna wanna use a flathead screwdriver to undo this clamp. You wanna stick the flathead screwdriver in and then twist. And what it does is it opens it up enough to get it off. We're not going to reuse this. We're going to use a zip tie instead. And pull off your boot. You're going to want to pull off your boot completely so you can get your tool in there to undo the tie rod. All right, so we're going to use this tool since our jam nut is stuck on the inner tie rod. All right, so I'm just going to tighten up my tool using the box end of my wrench. Once that's tight, I'm going to make sure that it can spin freely, so I have to turn the wheel a little bit to bypass the frame of the car. right, so we've cracked that loose. And we gotta take our tool off because it's stuck up against the other part. But as long as it's cracked loose, you can now get it out with your fingers. So I'm just gonna move my tool over, undo my nuts, and take out the rest with my hands. All right, so we are almost done taking our tool off. All right. Once you take your tool off. So after you've broken that loose and taken your tool off, you can go under with some channel locks, pliers, and just loosen it more if you need to, if it's not coming loose with your hand, like ours isn't, just until you can take it off by hand. All right, so now we can take it off. I've set my inner tie rod up on a vise, and I'm going to take off my nut so I can get the boot off. I'm going to count how many turns I go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 21 and a half. So when we put the nut, the new nut on the new inner tie rod, we'll do 21 turns to get it where the old one was. All right, so we're going to reuse that. It's still worthy. Take our boot off. All right, so I'm going to put my new boot on. Put my clamp on. Going to rest that there. And we're going to do 21 and a half turns. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 20, 21. Another good thing to do is to mark it on either side, so you know where your nut lives in case it does spin a little bit when you're installing. So you know that the nut goes in between. Okay, you're going to take off the old clamp. We're going to use a zip tie, and we are going to put some Loctite on the threads. Now we're going to clean the threads out a little bit. Get the Loctite out, the old Loctite out. Okay, we're going to put our plastic washer on there. And thread it in. Once we get that snug, we'll use our tool again to tighten it. So you want to snug it up, and when it stops, it stops. Just go a little bit, give it a little extra, and then you're good. Don't crank it down too much, you will break it, the steering system. So now we can remove our tool. All right, so now we can slide our boot down. All right, so you're going to push your boot down. Put our zip tie on. Once you get that tight, you can cut off the end. All right, so now we can cut the end off. Now we're going to put our clamp on. All right, once you get your boot on in the right spot, it's time to install your outer tie rod. All right, so now we're going to turn it 14 times, 14 threads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So now we're going to put this back into the knuckle. All right, we're going to snug this up a little bit before we torque it to 25 foot-pounds. So when we're torquing this, we're going to try to aim that cotter pin hole through the castle nut. And we're not going to loosen it to find the hole. We're going to keep tightening it till we have a hole. So that's about 25 foot-pounds. We want to go a little bit more tighter. To line up our hole. Push the cotter pin through. And bend that one around it, and then you cut this part off. And there you go. All right, you're going to use a 24mm wrench on your nut. You are going to use a 22mm on your tie rod. You're going to jam the nut up against it to keep it from moving. Now that that's done, you can put your wheel back on, take it for a test drive, and then take it to your local alignment shop and get it aligned. All right, we're going to put our wheel back on. Start our lug nuts. Use a 21 millimeter socket. You're going to snug these down in a star-like pattern. Now that we have the vehicle on the ground, we are going to torque our wheels to 80 foot-pounds with a 21 millimeter socket. We're going to do this in a star-like pattern, and then we're going to check it again.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.